Well, hello, folks. This is Joe Wesley, and Lizzy will be on shortly of the Joe and Lizzy Gabor uh, debate, I guess, discussion, my confusion, you might say. For those of you who are new to us, thank you for joining. Basically, what we're about is Lizzy is a holistic wellness coach along with other activities. And I say that vaguely because I'm not quite sure. And in fact, she's going to come on now and we'll talk with her about her. But basically, I'm a left brain kind of persona. And logic and reasoning, like a Dr. Spock syndrome, for those of you who are old enough to know about Star Trek. And I pride myself on that. So when Lizzy speaks, my wife, by the way, I'll use her as an example. Sunday morning, I'll come into the TV room and I hear the soft tingling of cymbals and the white gowns and the white curtains and the soft breeze dancing, the candle lights, and I hear this soft voice saying how to be a better person. I've got to leave the room. I have to admit that.
Sounds so nice, Joe.
So good morning, Lizzy. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you very much. So for those of you who are seeing us for the first time, 15 minutes every Thursday morning, barring national holidays and stuff like that, they will come up. But that being said, her role is to show me why she's as successful as she is about helping people becoming healthier, wealthier, wiser through the method of mindfulness. I guess that's the way to say it in one capsulette. For those of us who are looking at us on the replay side and those who are looking at us live, please share your comments. We do audit even on the replay side also. In either instance, you can look at us through Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Please sign in to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn to be able to leave comments. So, what the topic is today is Lizzy says a lot, and we phrase that she's in the industry, to be blunt. It is an industry like anything else. And she'll make comments, well, to become mindful, to be healthier, you begin to do this, you begin to do that. And my thing is, how do I get to that point? That is like, it seems like it's just turning a light switch on, but that can't possibly be in where I'm coming from. So do I get zapped by lightning? Does someone tap me on the shoulder? I had asked last session how Lisa got started. She told me, well, somebody invited her to a spa. So she went for the pure hedonistic escape syndrome because somebody asked her. But that's what triggered her to be where she is. So I'm going to ask her to share her journey through the eyes of other people, how people became a part of your flavor and have benefited from it.
Okay. It makes me think of, for me, I think what happened for myself was that I was uncomfortable the way I was for so long, but you get stuck in that familiar being uncomfortable. So that you think that breaking free of that's going to be uncomfortable too. But it's like, what's more uncomfortable?
Yeah.
So when I had that experience and it was uncomfortable, but it was also uncomfortable in a good way, because I didn't feel that anxiety. And,
It became predictable. You're saying your discomfiture, yes?
it becomes familiar. Yeah. And it actually comes really from way back. It comes from what we learned as a child, what was kind of downloaded into us, and we don't have a choice about that because, we're just trying to survive. So we're going to take on whatever we're kind of programmed in because that's just how it goes. So it's like breaking free from that it's uncomfortable and it's a little scary and it's starts, with, for some people. For me, it started with an experience and then oh my God, I made a decision. I need to learn as much as I can about this because I want more of it.
Okay.
But I think for a lot of people, it starts with making a decision if they're sick and tired of the way that they're feeling. And you have to be a little bit open to another way of being,
I hear that.
Sorry.
I hear that. I'm going to do a counterpoint, though. I grew up with the phrase of jumping out of the skillet, jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. That somehow the implication is, geez, however bad it is, if you change, it's going to be even worse. So it kind of dampens down this sense of I got to break out of this because what am I jumping into? The
Yeah.
unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. The unknown is definitely a little scary, but uh, you know, I think it's a lot about like who you identify with, and I think a lot of the work that the mindset work and stuff that I teach, it's like I think that that's the groundwork. Is like, do I want to identify with somebody who, like, for example, for myself, who's
Mm-hmm.
always body conscious, who always never thinks she's thin enough. If I'm going to keep identifying with that,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm going to be, and
Okay.
that's going to lead, and that's going to like govern how I eat and how and oh, it's all right. So let's go for that slice of pizza because I'm never going to be thin enough anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you start negotiating with yourself all the
Right.
time about but if you start to identify as someone, which is what I decided to do. I'm someone who's healthy and who loves my body, and it doesn't mean I switched on that switch and that all of a sudden, but I had to like switch that identity because once you do that, then you don't start waking up in the morning and thinking, I'm going to like go have that big stack of pancakes. Wake up and you think, I'm a healthy person who loves her body. So I'm going to choose to eat something healthy in the morning. It's like I think that's kind of the groundwork that I try to work with people on because
Mm-hmm.
it works for me.
Okay, I
Um,
hear that, but they still have to get to you to get to that point
mhm,
of growth. So as I'm listening to you, part of me has another mindset, self awareness. I'm making assumptions that people are so overwhelmed with crap just to survive, just to hang on by the little pinky, that they don't likely have much reserve to be creative about their lifestyle. But
yeah.
perhaps at some point, that person, they say you got to hit rock bottom sometimes. And they talking
Mhm.
about abuse, alcoholic abuse, or external, maybe internal abuse. Also, when I think about it, that at some point one has to begin to say, "This isn't going to work for me any further," and there's got to be something different. I may not know what it is, and
Mhm.
certainly I don't have skills. The unknown is frightening, but this is just not going in the right direction. So I guess some people click it just because that happens. I know one woman actually, in an abusive relationship, physically abusive. And what triggered her was at one point the husband at the time threw something at her that almost hit one of her children.
Mhm.
At that point, she says, "This isn't working." So sometimes that may be the trigger of change for people.
A lot of times, I think people have to get to that point of where they're just, staying where they are is just, well, in that case, unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And with addiction, it's like, it just starts like to the parts that they used for it to make them feel good start to make them feel bad and worse and worse and worse and worse. And they start to lose everything around, and sometimes it has to come to that where
Mm-hmm.
they lose everything around them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my hope is always that people get ready to get rid of an old way of being, before they're at that point. But a lot
Fair.
of times that's not the case,
Well, do you have clues or tidbits or hints how one might trigger before they get to that rock bottom, based on your history and
Well, I think
experience in
again,
listening?
it's because with that awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and really just starting to uh, become a little bit of that observer, of your life, taking, stepping back and seeing what your life is, and is this what I want? Is this the life that I want for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it is hard when you're in the midst of being in that autopilot and same thing day after day, and stuck in that maybe feelings of lack, for example, like you were saying. But you know, it's like again, making a little bit of a choice, small baby steps,
Mm-hmm.
breaking things down. I'm like always about thinking about like how can I make a small little upgrade. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like that word transformation. It's like, ooh, you gotta like, you know, put on your backpack, climb up to the top of the mountain, and like,
And here I am. I get
yeah,
that, right?
like you were saying. But what I like to share with people, it's like little like upgrades, little tiny upgrades in your life, and they start to add up, and you start to
Mm-hmm.
feel tiny with that, So I think that's a little bit easier to uh, swallow,
Right. I guess it's like fixing. I'm thinking about it. Thanksgiving dinner. When you do that turkey, it's not like you put in the microwave for 3 minutes and it's done. You have to do a lot of preparation, from the
Yes.
moment of buying it to the seasoning to the this to the that to the condiment. So you mentioned baby steps. I'm assuming that's so before Thanksgiving dinner is ready and has to eat and to enjoy, you have to do the condiments and the preparation also. Those is that what you're talking about? The ingredients of
Yeah,
mindfulness.
it's funny because we're actually having a happy hour today at our house with like 25 people later, and
Excuse me. Why am I just now hearing this?
it's for our networking group, only for the members of our
Oh,
group.
okay,
Believe
fine.
me, I wish I could invite everybody.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
We
Go
haven't
ahead.
entertained in so long. I would love to like invite all of you who are watching. But really, but so yeah, I started yesterday, like literally putting out the trays that I'm going to use, putting this like the bags of things that are going to go here and going to go there. So yeah, it's planning, and even like I think about it again back to like with exercise or with eating or with your wanting to maybe get more physically fit. It's like it starts with doing one push-up. Like I mean, I've been on the phone with a client and and they're like, I want to lose 50 pounds. I'm like, okay, so right now I'd like you to get on the floor and do 10 push-ups or 10 sit-ups. And they're like, now? I'm like, yeah, right now. I'll hold on.
Really? Well, excuse me. Where do you people come from? I got to interrupt on this one, folks. I'm a biology major, so I get this stuff about endorphin release and you feel better. And when I watch TV commercials of people exercising, they're smiling. I'm saying, where does that come from? Because I'm cussing, I'm bitching, I'm whatever it may be. However, I hate exercising. I really hate it. And I'll find excuses where I can to put it off. However, I've decided if I want to be a hunk, I got to exercise. And
that's right.
There's no workaround.
So you got to put on that identity, right? The hunk identity. You want to identify with that, and then you don't have to negotiate so much. Even if you hate it, you're like, but I'm Hunky Joe, so I'm going to do it. And that's like again where I love that concept of just like identifying, and that makes me think of we've all heard of people who win the lottery, right? And then it's people who are broke, and then like literally like months later they're broke again.
If that long, you're right.
Because they're still right, because they're still identifying as someone who's broke, and so they can't hold on to the money or the fitness. It's interesting and it works.
And that's my point, because even in an ideal, a person will buy a lottery ticket because they've got this dream of being rich, wealthy, whatever it may be, freedom of all the debt stuff. But yet, even with the money in hand, because they spent $2, they now got money beyond belief, but there's still no light switch that has gone on to allow them to change their life. And that's in an ideal setting. So situations aren't nearly as ideal. It's got to be much more of a struggle.
Yeah, which is right. Well, which is why it is ideal, but it is ideal, but it's not, because it's if they're still in that mindset of scarcity, or that mindset of broke, I think there's so much to be put into shifting your mindset, in order to make any kind of lasting changes, and feeling better. I think your mindset matters, and the groundwork, that's like the groundwork beneath the actions. There's always like habits, do this habit, you should, but it's again, if you don't do the underneath work, the groundwork about what are my beliefs about this, what is it that, like, with money, say, rich people are greedy, money doesn't grow on trees, all those things that maybe we heard in our families that have been in us. And if we don't go deep and figure out what they are, it's not going to stick.
I hear that. And so, folks, just what Lizzy has announced, that some of our future events will be how to begin to shift mindsets that better prepare you to use her services and her value. That some little BYI, self-do things. I'm sure I'm not getting that phrasing correctly. But how does one do little things on themselves, on their own, when they're not quite ready yet for a Lizzy environment? Or her karma that she brings to the table. What are little things you can do? And actually, I see this for two reasons. Value to you, the listener. One, if she gives 2 or 3 hints and 1 out of 3 works, maybe she knows what she's talking about, whether I can figure it out or not. And
that's it. If one little half of thing works.
Exactly.
It's that little upgrade.
And when I say it works, that you're pleased with it, surprised, maybe initially, being the doubtful person that I am, but in a pleasant manner. And if you enjoy that flavor, maybe you want to learn about what she has to say, despite my cluelessness about this concept. Does that kind of nail down what I'm asking here?
Absolutely. I'm happy to share as many little tips. And if you're, just think about it, getting ready to let go of the old and like step into your badassness or your greatness, however
I
you want
know.
to call it.
That sounds good. And so, for those of us who you're viewing us on the YouTube version, there are links to either of us. You can ask more questions, but please leave comments to us and with the outside world. Thank you very much. You fit our curfew again. My gosh, how much time goes when we're having fun.
Thank
See,
you so much, everybody.
thank you. Take care.
Grace and
Bye.
peace. Grace and peace.